For today's episode, it is going to be a roller coaster of emotions. So I am about, I'd say about 6 weeks have gone by, which is crazy to think that I've been unemployed for about 6 weeks. A lot has happened. And it's just crazy how fast technology is evolving. And so I'm going all in on building this software product. And the things that I envisioned are happening so fast that people are able to build some of these things themselves, which is a very scary thought, because now, in which something I was previously building, which I thought was really not something that the average person is capable of doing, which makes it drop my recorder makes it a no-brainer for people to buy a software product and pay monthly. Now it's a serious threat, because people can spin up their own OpenClaw or whatever AI assistant they're using and go ahead and build stuff on their own. And so I have to find a way to survive in that kind of environment. And, I still don't have any active income coming in. It puts me in a really, really difficult spot. It's like, well, do I go find a job? Do I, look for a part-time job? Like, at what point should I start doing that? Versus the trade-off of going all in, right? I say I'm here to go all in, and then yet I still have those doubts creeping up in my head of like, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? And, if anything, I'm using this session today and probably, all my other podcast episodes as a therapy session for myself, actually, just talking out loud. It actually helps me process and think through things. And I'd say today is a day where I'm really mentally struggling with those thoughts of, am I on the right path? So I figured it was fitting for me to record another episode. It's, I also think that I'm being tested. God is testing me of, how bad do you actually want this? And I just have constant barriers put in front of me, and it's almost comical. I've had probably to the tune of $15,000 of repairs that I've had to pay for over the past few weeks. Granted, I have no income coming in. I had a subfloor collapse. It was in a duplex, and I thought that was an isolated incident. And now I received word that the other unit for that duplex, that subfloor, has also collapsed. And it's just like, wow. And I got a bunch of other repairs that are, actively still happening right now. Plumbing leaks, which, these days anything that breaks is at least $1,200-$1,500. So we got multiple maintenance issues going on right now, and it's pretty comical, when I think I have everything stabilized, and it just keeps pouring and pouring and pouring and putting me into a bigger and bigger hole to climb out of. And then the software product itself, I am trying to build this thing as fast as I possibly can to get it where it needs to be. This month I invested in a data provider that took my net income down to zero. So now I'm at zero, and next month I was planning on making this upgrade, which would put me that would put me below zero. That would put me at negative $2,500 a month if I make that next upgrade of data package. I may or may not delay that. We'll see. I'm going to see if I can drive enough interest and traffic to the platform to see if I can buy myself some time and increase revenue a little bit without having to make that huge jump. But making that jump it seems inevitable based on the direction that I'm seeing tech and everything going. I'm racing against all of these tools. And at the end of the day, I have to build something that people cannot build on their own. And when I say people, I mean really AI. The AI itself cannot replicate very quickly. So it has to be so differentiated that that it can survive, right? And not only survive, but thrive. That's a pretty scary place because, talk about going negative 2,500. So, we're not even at zero. We're at negative 2,500 if I make that move. And then it's trying to climb my way up and make enough to survive off of and pay my bills. So, we are talking about like the most historic comeback I've ever seen for me personally of just where I'm at today versus where I need to be at in 4 or 5 months before, all my cash runs out. And it's dwindling by the day because it's not just living expenses I'm paying for, it's properties, empty properties, repairs, all that stuff's coming out of nowhere, out of left field. And I mean, there is no positive cash flow coming out of any property pretty much because everything's just being smoked, and then some in CapEx, maintenance breakdowns, all that kind of stuff. And it makes it really, really difficult, to keep pushing through. I feel like a really shitty father at the moment because I just don't spend the time that I want to spend with the kids and doing stuff, and I really want to help educate them and transfer a lot of the knowledge and everything I've learned and help them avoid all those mistakes. Luckily they're 5 and 4.5 and 3, so at that age there's not much knowledge transfer that can happen, but I just envisioned my role as a father being different than how I'm playing it now, and it really doesn't make me happy. But I have no other choice at the moment. I have to work all the time, and it's almost like a mental illness right now of like I feel guilty every minute I'm not working, and I feel like I'm not even working hard enough. I feel like I've been coasting and not doing what I need to do, and it's been comfortable in my working schedule. I mean, yeah, I've eliminated 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back, so that's an hour of travel that I don't have to drive to and from work, and then I've eliminated, let's call it 45 minutes putting around in the morning, getting dressed, shower, all that kind of stuff, and getting in the process of leaving the house. And so we'll call it an hour and a half that I've gotten back in my day every day just by eliminating the travel and working from home. But that's outside that, I mean, I've always worked a lot, and I don't feel like I've stepped it up to where it needs to be because, if I had to add up, I would say I'm probably working somewhere between, depending on the week, 70 and 90 hours. Nah, I wouldn't say 90. I'd say between 70 and 80 hours a week is what I'm working right now. And I just feel like it's not enough. I feel like I need to be suffering more to really earn it. Or, I have to have this daily suffering to feel like I'm just reaching the tip of where I need to be where I'm putting in the right amount of effort to get the right result. And I feel like that's just not happening right now, and I'm also concerned of like going off the deep end on that and burning out, right? I mean, this is a marathon, and I can't burn out, and a lot of what I do is intellectual, so I can't really go for long periods of time with, very, very little sleep, because then I'm not functional, and then that affects productivity. So it's a hard balance, and I'm trying to figure that out, but just given the sheer amount of financial pressure that is just quite literally thrown on to me daily with all these repairs and breakdowns. I mean, honestly, it's the repairs and the breakdowns of all the properties that are just crushing me. Because you can't even plan for it. You can't forecast that on a spreadsheet, nothing. You get a phone call and it's just like, oh, here we go. How much is this going to cost me? And it's just, I'm trying to plan my budget. I'm trying to plan everything. And that just blows it all up every month. And that's been going on for well over a year. And it's just, you get to a point where it's just emotionally draining. Where enough's enough. And I honestly feel like I'm at that point where I just have to go nuts on digging in and reaching a whole nother level that I don't even know that exists right now, because I feel like there's just no way out of this outside of a sheer amount of volume of work, and I have to transform into the next version of myself that doesn't exist today. And I don't know how I'm going to get there. Constant doubt in my head at the moment. The other thing that does bother me is not that I need a pity party by any means, but, I talk to a lot of people and they're like, oh, what, you're so smart or whatever and you're going to do great and I'm not worried about you at all. And I'm like, well, I am certainly worried. It's like, oh, you'll just figure it out. Like, no, that's not how it goes. Like, this is something I am very worried about on a daily basis. Minute by minute, it's just constant doubt in my head every single second of the day. And that's an enormous pressure to have. And that's what I gotta get figured out. I've lost a handful of members on the software, which, I expected. There was things that I feel like the onboarding or the activation for a normal user was not where it needed to be in that whole onboarding experience. People need to come onto the platform and immediately feel the win and the value of using the platform. And I honestly didn't think setting up a buy box was that much work, but apparently everyone else is telling me it is. So I've been racing against the clock to try to fix that activation problem. And I started running paid ads recently. So again, that's more money I'm spending on actually honestly doing pretty well with the paid ads. It's actually running and getting people to sign up, but it's all free trials. And I'm not getting people to actually sign up. I'm just getting free trials and they just go dead. But I have 0 email campaign follow-ups. I have nothing, literally. And that's a problem. Getting people activated on the platform is a huge problem. So I have to find a way to get people activated. Have to. And this huge last round of development that I'm working on is hopefully that missing piece to get people signed up. So I got 255 people signed up currently as just members. That's between free and paid, and there's 27 paid right now. I think at my peak I was at like 35, so I'm clearly, if you understand math, I'm headed in the wrong direction. And I think it was just this activation piece, as people really struggled with getting the core value out of it that I know is there. They just couldn't get past the work to get there. And there's a lot to be said in that statement, for life in general. Not that, first of all, you shouldn't be making people work to use your software. Like, that's not the point. But the point in that for life is you got to get past the work to get on the other side. And that's what I'm trying to see currently in this moment. And it's really hard because I am working as hard as I can, and I just feel like I'm just getting beaten down every day by something that's costing me money. It makes it really, really hard to keep pushing when you're just getting loss after loss after loss after loss after loss after loss after loss, And I have a lot of perseverance, but you would like to think that equation gets balanced by a few wins, and it's just when I think I reach a new low, it somehow keeps digging deeper and creating a new low, lower than the previous low. And that's where I'm at right now. This is currently at the bottom. I thought I was at the bottom in episode 1 and episode 2, and now here 6-7 weeks later, episode 3, and continue to sinking down. It almost feels like a sinking ship, honestly. But on the other side, bro, I literally was beaten so hard not to quit. It's just not in my DNA. I don't quit. But it is pretty tough to keep going. So, with that being said, this might have to kick off the chapter of going into a very, very, I don't want to say dark place, but a very unhealthy place in terms of time committed. I think I need to be pushing that 90 to 100 hours a week, I think, at this moment. It's just, I don't know any other way to get there other than just work harder. That's just all I know. Surely, if I just keep doing that, things have to turn around at some point. And so that's what I'll leave with today, is that never give up and keep working and keep pushing, and time will tell if this will age well or not. I gotta have just an absolute monster month. My plan was to spend the month of February building the software product, and the month of March, selling the software product. I feel like I'm a couple of weeks behind. I need a few more weeks of development. But March, April, May has to just be monstrous in terms of growth. Like, I need to be in a whole nother different place if I'm gonna, I gotta grow at least 10x from where I'm at now. So, that's where we gotta be, and that's what we gotta figure out. So I will, get my ass back to work, and I will see you guys next time. And it'll be interesting to track the KPIs and over time, over each episode, and you can follow along, and I'll share. I think I'll start sharing more tactical information on, what I'm doing to get to this climb, because I think that's going to be really important in this journey. I've spent probably the first couple of episodes talking about really just mindset and some of the struggles I'm having, and We need to stop talking about that and start getting to work. And I'll show you the path on how I get there. Or you'll watch me burn in flames. It'll be one of the two. It'll be a really good success story, or not. All right, well, I'll see y'all guys next time.